Hi friends, welcome back to another video. So as you may know, 2024 is my first official year of sewing. So today I'm gonna go through everything I made in 2024. First thing I made this year is actually this two-piece set. I got the pattern of the Essentials Club. It's not really like a paper pattern, it's actually a video tutorial. This is more of like a practice piece because I really wanted to get into sewing, and so I thought it would be easier to do something that is easy to follow and had some techniques that I wanted to practice. So this top is a tube top with a tie front detail. So in the Essentials Club video, technically this tie front should also be long enough to tie around your neck as a halter, but I did not have enough material. So anyway, this top has a sheared back. I really wanted to try shirring, and don't ask me why I wanted to try shirring on my very first piece of garment, but I just thought that since I already had the shirring thread, I thought might as well just do something with it. This top is actually a little bit loose on me. I'm not so sure why. I think probably the front piece is a little bit too wide, too long, and this tie front is actually a little bit on the heavier side. When I'm wearing it, it actually drags my top down. So it's not the most comfortable, but I was thinking maybe I'll just add 2 shoulder straps and then it should work. So moving on to the pair of shorts. This was actually self-drafted from something that I already have. For this pair of shorts, I actually French seamed everything. And I really like this pair of shorts. I do wear it at home to lounge around. I don't really wear it out because the waistband is a little bit too loose, which I guess I could totally fix it by changing it to a tighter waistband, but you know, it's fine. I'm not going to bother with it too much. And for this set, I'm probably going to rate it a 5 out of 10 because mostly it's because of the top, because of the sizing and the comfort. All in all, I would say this is a pretty good first attempt at making garments. The next thing I made was this dress. I did start this dress in 2020 or 2021 at the height of COVID, but I only finished it this year, so I would consider this a 2024 make. I worked on this for like 12 hours until 3 AM in that single day that I got so traumatized by this dress that I never touched it again. So back then in 2020, I really wanted to teach myself sewing, and for some reason I thought this was a good piece to start with, when this was probably one of the most challenging things I've done, because this dress is not only 3 tiers, it's also fully lined and French seamed. So I really don't know what I was thinking that this was going to be successful on my first make. But yeah, I did give up after 12 hours. So after gaining some confidence with the very first make, I decided to finally tackle this. I realized now, trying to sew this 3 years later, that this is a really terrible choice of fabric for a beginner, because I think this is a jacquard fabric. I'm not entirely sure, and the problem is that every time I seam rip something, the fraying, oh my god, is endless. And then it was so messy and so finicky, but I pushed through and I made this. It's not the best. There's like some holes because of the fraying and of the seam ripping, and the top stitching, I had to seam rip the top stitch here and redo the whole thing because it did not catch on to the fabric on the inside. So that was also an issue. The tiers don't line up at the side seams. All in all, I would give this maybe a 6 out of 10, just for the effort. Points deducted for poor finishing and poor sewing. But for my second project, it's not too bad. So for the next project is this dress that I made. I made this dress for my Bali trip with my girlfriends, and we had outfit themes for each day, and one of the themes was jewel tones, and this is the jewel tone that I chose. This is actually the first time I use a paper pattern. Because it was my first time using a paper pattern, I actually did a mock-up of this dress before I actually made this one. So doing the mock-up actually helped me understood a lot of the techniques and how it's done, so that when I actually did the final one, it went pretty smoothly. The designer even had a video tutorial, so it was relatively easy to follow, and I just made it into a short dress instead, because the original design was actually a maxi with a slit. And the only thing is that I didn't line up the zipper and the side seam very well. And another thing is that the straps for this dress keeps falling off my shoulder, so it was pretty precarious. I'm actually pretty proud of this make, considering that this is actually my third project. So I would rate this maybe like a 6.5 out of 10. So the next project was this skirt. What's this? Cat fur. All over. Oh Jesus. This was the project that I decided to film and post on YouTube. This patchwork skirt was actually inspired by from Carly B. I really enjoyed the process of making this dress. I think the only thing is that I wish I added lining to it so that it's not so see-through, but I just wear a pair of shorts underneath anyway. So it's not too bad. What I like about this is I actually French seamed every single patch together, and I also French seamed all the tiers together. So that was really hard work, but it was such a fun make to actually figure out what fabric goes where, and finding and sourcing for the fabric. When I was sewing the gathers to the waistband, there were some parts that I kind of got a little bit distracted, and then the gathers kind of got sewed onto itself. So some parts of the gathers are a little bit wonky, but that's fine, I guess. So I would rate this skirt probably a 9 out of 10. I love it so much. I actually wear it pretty often, and I love the poof. I like that it sways a lot when you walk, and it's just so piery and cottagecore. So the next thing that I made is actually this dress, tunic, outerwear, whatever you call it. I was actually inspired by a photo I saw on Pinterest, and I really liked the design, so I tried to replicate it with kind of like a chiffon fabric. I think this is chiffon. I think the only thing with this is that I feel like I chose the wrong bias tape to go around the edges and also for the ties, because this bias tape is too thin and it's actually really hard to work with. So some of my stitchings are not great, and because the bias tape is so thin, it couldn't really hold in all the gathers, especially at the top edge. So there's some holes around the gather area where the fabric didn't clamp shut. So I would definitely make this dress again. This make is probably not gonna last me too long. After multiple washes, it's probably gonna be broken apart, but I am probably gonna be able to reuse a lot of this fabric because it is just a square rectangle, and I still have more of these, so I might make a new and improved version of this. Other than that, I love the design, and I actually do wear this quite a bit. I'm gonna actually rate this a 7 out of 10. So after that dress, in the same video that I did, I also made this bag. Honestly, this bag is so abused. I gave it a wash recently, and my drawstring ribbon has shredded into pieces. So that's very unfortunate, but you know. As I was saying, this bag is so loved and so abused because I use it so much every day, and that's the reason why I had to take it to wash, because it started to become very yellow around my handle and also very brown at the base of my bag. And because I washed it, I now need to fix the drawstring. But anyway, I love this bag so much. This is actually from a video tutorial from Sydney Graham. Very straightforward bag to make. I won't say easy because you probably do need some basic sewing skills to be able to make this bag. It's not like a tote bag where it's just like rectangle pieces and then that's it, you know. You do need like basic sewing skills for this, especially attaching the handles and also attaching the elastic through the channels and also the drawstring through the channel. I did a little modification where I changed the straps to a D-ring and a slider. This D-ring and slider is not very good quality, so they are a bit loose. So if I were to do this bag again, I'll probably use a different D-ring where it's a little bit, maybe a little bit stronger. And also because I did not really sew the handles in properly, it started to rip after like intense usage for like 2 weeks. So I actually just used like an embroidery thread and just kind of like go over the joint part just so that, you know, it will be sturdier. And it did kind of work. Once I've figured out how to change my drawstring, this bag will be back in action for sure. So I think all in all, I'm gonna rate this like maybe I would say 7 out of 10, only because, actually no, I would rate this maybe like an 8 out of 10. I think the only problem is, the only real issue I have with this bag is the slider. And that's not on me, that's on the quality of the slider that I bought. So, and also this part. But you know, it's fixable. Yeah. I love this bag! I need to wash it again because it got rained on while it was drying outside. So for the next project, it's technically 4 items. They're all shirts that I made for my trip to Japan. And it's these 4 pieces. These are actually from the Kiana Bonolo's turtleneck pattern. So the first one is actually made from stretch velvet. For this one, I actually chose to lattice hem the sleeves and they turned out pretty well. It's pretty comfortable. I don't really wear it because it's too warm to wear it here. I would imagine if I were to travel to somewhere that is like spring or fall, this would be a perfect shirt to wear. After making that one, I made this green version. This is actually like kind of like a spandex blend. It's really comfortable. The material is so soft. And for this one, the sleeves, I decided to make it just like a normal sleeves, but I think I regret it a little bit because now the sleeves are a little bit too short. It's not so wearable in our weather here, so I might actually cut it and make it into like a short sleeve so that it's a little bit more comfortable to wear. So I enjoyed this pattern so much. I decided that I wanted to make a crew neck version. So I went on TikTok and figured out how to do a crew neck band, and I found a video that I could basically use the same pattern and just hack it. So I made this as a mock-up first. So for this one, the neckline is a little bit wonky because I had to trim it down after, you know, sewing the neckband for the first time and then realizing that it was not working out, it was very wonky, so I had to trim it down and then sew the second neckband, which is this. And I did not kind of like trim it very equally, but that's fine, it's not super obvious. And I also struggled with the sleeves a little bit. There's a bit of puckering here. It fits pretty comfortably. Again, I don't wear this in Singapore because stretch velvet is too hot to wear in Singapore. I'll be sweating
my ass off.
Anyway, after making this, and then I felt more confident, and then I made it in this green fabric, which is the same as the green turtleneck. And the reason why I used the stretch velvet as a mock-up because I have a lot less of this than my stretch velvet. And I prefer this material because it's just more practical and more wearable. I love this shirt so much. I wear it pretty often actually. For this, I'll rate it like an 8 out of 10. For this, probably like a 6.5 out of 10, but only because it's like a mock-up. For this two, I will probably rate them both 7. The next project would be this top. It's a Gunny inspired top, you know, like the whole world is making or wearing. I had some like extra eyelet fabric left over, and I was thinking maybe this would be cute as a blouse. So I got this pattern off Etsy. It's a pretty easy pattern to follow. I wear this pretty often as well, and this is probably one of my neatest make ever. My lines are straight, my stitches are straight, so I'm pretty proud of this one. The only thing was that I did not have enough fabric to make the sleeves, so I was debating whether I wanted to make sleeves from a different fabric or to make it sleeveless. And I decided to make it sleeveless because that's what I wear mostly anyway. I also decided to do satin ties instead of ties that is from the same fabric. I love this a lot and I do wear it. It's a very comfortable top. So I think I honestly have no notes. I would give this a 10 out of 10. I think that's the one thing that I want to do with this is that I want to dye it slightly off-white, because now it's a very bright white, so it doesn't go with a lot of my white clothes. I think that's the only thing. Otherwise, this is my favorite make of the year. 10 out of 10. For the last thing I made this year is the holiday dress. So this was actually sewing again after 6 weeks. So I'm pretty proud of this one, only because for the first time trying to pattern match the fabric, it was pretty successful. And the princess seams pretty much line up, and also my back waist seam lines up with the zipper as well. So everything basically lines up. That's like honestly pretty impressive to me. I just had zero expectations that any of it would line up, but you know, they did, and I'm quite happy about that actually. The only thing is the inside is rough. The inside of the dress. Not like texturally rough, but like technically rough. I didn't do a very good job doing the finishings of the inside, because if I were to like flip this inside out, you would know that this is completely homemade. And also the problem with this is that in the pattern, the armhole facing and the neck facing are all separate. Knowing what I know now, I would definitely make the facing all in one piece. So the front is one piece and the back is one piece, instead of having 3 separate pieces, because this really makes the inside really messy, and also my facing keeps trying to flip out. So all in all, I think I will rate this maybe like 7 out of 10, only because the inside is. So this is all for everything that I made in 2024, and there's so much more to look forward to this year. Thanks for watching and thanks for sticking around. Bye!